What is up, everybody? Thank you guys for tuning in again to this special episode of ResMod Randoms. We're going to be building an X-Wing, and I'm actually going to paint it just like the X-Wing on the Mandolorian in the third episode. So let's open up this box and get right into it. So, per usual, I'm going to struggle a bit cutting into this box. Yeah. At this point, I have edited the video to the point where if I did any other editing, it would ruin all of my work. So, looks like you're just going to have to watch me struggle a little bit. But honestly, a good pointer here is use a nice sharp knife on all these boxes if you're opening stuff, because like if I did this on one of my actual collection models, I probably would have been pretty upset that I cut the box on accident. So definitely that's a good pointer there. So opening this box, I was really excited. I've never built any type of Star Wars thing, and I'm a huge fan of Star Wars. So opening this box, I'm like just anticipating cracking this thing open. So I wanted to drag it out just a little bit for you guys. It's more exciting that way. Didn't realize it didn't come with a instruction sheet. This is the instruction sheet right here for the decal options. So fun little fact, I really didn't know what I was getting myself into with this build, and it was so tiny. I just really didn't know what was going to happen. But as you can see, opening the box here, you got a nice little package of parts, and I'm just super giddy at this point. So here you have your sticker sheet, and this is not your regular decal sheet like what we're used to. So definitely pay attention to that. These are just peel and stick. That's all you have to do in order to get those to work nicely, and they stick really well also. Here is your package of parts. You can see the fuselage there, and the canopy, and some of the blasters that go on the wingtips. And I wasn't expecting this, but this tiny little kit has such good detail. Literally, probably better detail in this kit than most of the Rebel kits that I build on the regular. So definitely, if you are looking for a nice detailed kit, I would suggest this little tiny kit. And I'll show you here, it also goes together very easily and very quickly as well. So you can see there that the detail is just amazing. You can see all the wires, all of the little indentations, and also recessed panel lines. Here's another glimpse of all those nice details that the wings have to offer on this kit. And those are the engines there. Alright, here is your basic stand, and it goes together, and you can see there's a little ball joint, so you can move it to any angle that you want, which I thought was really cool. This is your instruction sheet. I thought that there would be a nice little instruction pamphlet to open up and read through the instructions, but it looks like it's just on the box. So it was kind of hard to read, but I guess it all went together pretty simply. I mean, you're looking at, I think, less than 20 parts, so it wasn't too hard to understand. But there's your instructions. It's on the box. Kind of disappointing, but it works out in the end. Alright, so let's start off and get to clipping out some of these parts. If you are new to the hobby and you don't have a set of these, I would recommend getting them because it just makes it a lot easier getting all of your parts off of the sprue. But if you didn't have clippers, then you could take it out with an X-Acto knife. And you can see there the wings are literally as big as my finger. This thing is tiny. I actually almost ended up cutting off a part of this that actually connects to the engine. So be careful there, read your instructions on where to clip this stuff off. And here I'm just scraping off the excess from where I clipped with an X-Acto knife to sand out that edge nicely. and to get rid of any fragments of plastic that came off of the sprue molding. Now, when doing this, you never want to go forward into the plastic like right here. You want to scrape it backwards off of it. That's just the much easier way to do it, and it won't ruin that nice edge that the X-Wing already has. And here I'm using some Tamiya liquid cement, thin cement glue, and just clicking all these tiny pieces together. They fit together so well, they actually ended up not even needing to be glued, but I wanted a little bit of security, so I just glued them anyways. They literally fit in so tightly, you probably wouldn't even need glue for this model, honestly. So here is one part of the wings, and you build the other set of wings exactly the same way. And there is your front engine. Just squeeze right on there. Now you just take both of these wing sections and push them together kind of roughly, and this is your end result. They actually do end up moving up and down, which is a really cool feature, having the X-Wing in a standard position and attack position. I thought was really cool. All right, it goes right inside the bottom part of the fuselage, and there's your top piece. Clicking those together, like I said, it fits literally like a glove, so tight you really don't even need to glue it. Now, gluing would be a good idea for your model to last a little bit longer and to not break in the future, but if you didn't want to glue it, you don't have glue, it's not a big deal to not glue it. It all fits together so nicely, even these wing tips. Here is the last piece of the build, and it's done. I think I spent a total of 3 days on this thing, and that's with video recording and everything. And honestly, I was probably spending about 2 hours maybe each day. So it took me very little time to get this done. All right, let's get to painting this. Here, I'm just spraying some regular gray primer onto this thing. I actually ended up thinning it out way too much and it not working out very well. So definitely get yourself some good primer, or if you wanted to brush this out, just water some paint down nice and thin and do it a couple times. You'll get a nice smooth finish. I like airbrushing better than hand brushing because it doesn't leave as many brush marks or anything like that. And there's much less work to be done if you're doing multiple coats and light colors. Here, I'm just using the same paint and getting this nice gray color down as a primer so that the paint sticks better to the model. Alright, here is the first color that I'm actually going to be using. It's a light gray. It's honestly the only thing in my stash that I really had to go with the X-Wing. I don't have any ivory, which would be a much better color choice for you and to be more accurate. But I really wanted to play around with colors and stuff this time. I wanted to mix some stuff. I wanted to use different things that I had in my stash. So I'm mixing a little bit of white into that gray to lighten it up a bit and kind of give it a grayish, nice, whitish and grayish color. Mixing paints is a really good way to kind of include your own artistic skills and abilities into a build. Sometimes it may not work out, but most of the time it definitely works out, and I think me mixing these colors was really fun and new to me because usually I'm just straight by the books, follow the instructions on what color to use and stuff. So this was just a really fun project and interesting to see how well I could really work these paints. So here's another paint here, and this just kind of offsets it just enough to get those nice panels in there without altering the color too much of the X-Wing. So choosing an offset color to the actual X-Wing is really important to highlight those special panels and to make it look way more realistic. It's one of those tips and tricks that you just got to do on every model because it just makes it look so much better. So to my right, I have an actual wet palette, and I have a darker gray and a lighter gray and the original gray that I used, and I'm just mixing those grays together to blend and get different colors out of those grays. And there I am sending those different types of colors into each individual panel that I choose. Here's a really important feature on your X-Wing if you want to make it more realistic. These engines, I'm just painting the plain and simple black. But as you can see, I really didn't draw the nicest lines around my engines, so I'm going to use a little bit of water and correct it, and I'll show you how in a second. So I oopsied a few times with the brush, so now I'm just going to use water to my advantage and clear up those lines. All I did was just dip my brush in the water. I didn't wash it out or anything, just dipped it in the water, and now I'm pulling that paint back to give that a nice black wash over the engines. If you want the X-Wing dirtier, you leave it set. You leave it right where it is. But if you didn't want it as dirty, maybe you wanted a little bit clean, but wanted those details accented, just put a little bit more water on your brush and go ahead and go over it over and over again. And you can see there, it gives a nice smoky look to the engines, and it carries through. And also when you use a wet wash and you use so much water to clear up your lines, you're actually going to want to use gravity to help you out. So it was really hard to find good reference photos for this X-Wing. I think I came up to like 3 photos that I could really use to my advantage, but it had this color on the wings in this design on all 4 sides of the inside of the wings. Here I'm just cutting out the red 5 emblems because I'm not building Luke's X-Wing. I'm building the Mandalorian X-Wing. So I'm just cutting those off and going to use the red stripes there instead of the red 5 emblems. Like I said before, they are literally just peel and stick. Just peel and stick the sticker on and use a sanded toothpick to go around those highlighted details in the wing. Here you can see me pulling it off. Peels off pretty easily with a little finessing. You can also, if you do mess up on these stickers, you can peel them right back off. It's not a big deal at all. I did it several times with this cockpit. It was a little bit tricky. So don't be worried about it. Stick it lightly, see where it lines up good. If it doesn't work out, peel it back off, put it back on, whatever you want. So honestly, this was a tricky part. I definitely would recommend tweezers for this part and a toothpick to smooth out all the edges, but this was very, very tricky and tedious to get all these stickers to line up. Decals are much easier if you're new to the hobby and haven't used them yet. Stickers are way harder and decals are much easier because they can move around on the surface while you're sticking it onto the actual airframe. So here I saw a little red stripe, and I just wanted to accent that out on that side when I was looking at the reference photos. And I wanted this to stand out a little bit better. So what I did here was use a light blue, and I actually accented some of the details with a darker blue later on. All right, to the wash, guys. This is a very simple process, and it's kind of my favorite because you literally get to see every single detail now on the model that you may have missed before. And honestly, this is such a simple step. Literally, you can take your Dollar Tree paint. If you haven't seen that video, it's a good video on things that you can buy at the dollar store that are super useful in the hobby room. Basically, you just take that dollar store paint, water it down, and apply it to your model, however much you want and however dark you want it or light you want it. So it's just a really good way. You can see all those panel lines are coming out great, and all the details in the actual model are coming out really nicely. It's starting to look very realistic with that wash. So just apply this to the whole airplane and you get a really nice detailed model, and here is the photos.